But I think one of the parts of the story that's so interesting that I think a lot of people might overlook is you're married, you have a toddler, and you're trying to build a business. I mean, building a business is not easy. That is a full-time, as an around-the-clock job. Raising a family is a full-time. How do you manage that, especially now trying to come out of being broke and managing that kind of crisis? What was that? What was your mindset? I mean, in that time where I know I have to become successful, but I also have to be a father and a husband.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Sharon and I were very quickly in agreement that we liked food, and so you gotta go to work. It was desperation. It wasn't motivation. I was freaked out. It was terror, and so was driving it. And I had a to-do list that was based on the idea of prioritized to-do list. What makes money by Friday? Because I need some money to eat. And it really was. It was hand to mouth. And then once you get past that and you get enough of that coming in, there's enough cash flow, and you get away from terror or desperation. Now you move towards, okay, motivation, and I want to grow this. And then we went through a period of probably about 3 years when the kids were little that my wife would tell you she was a single mom.
Oh, wow.
Because I just worked all the time.
When you say all the time, what does that mean?
Well, I mean, as you probably know, this all started in a talk radio show that I was doing, and I didn't have my own studios. It was across town. And so it was a 40-minute drive, and I did the show, still do the show, from 1 to 4 Central Time in the afternoon. So I'd come in at 7 in the morning and work up until showtime on the business, and then drive 40 minutes, do the 3-hour show, drive 40 minutes back, and I was teaching Financial Peace University, we call it, in those days, our class, live in person with a bad suit and an overhead projector. And so I had the Holiday Inn rented across the street, and I had to go over there and set up the chairs and set up the screen, snap the
all
things on the
yourself?
screen. Yeah, it was just 4 of us working there.
Wow.
And other people had jobs doing stuff. So I would go back from the radio, grab a quick hamburger, go over, set up everything at the Holiday Inn, come back over, take a shower, put a suit on, then go over and teach for an hour, and then lead small groups for an hour and a half, and end up staying another hour and a half to some young couple is scared to death, or single mom, helping them do their budget because their house is being foreclosed on or their car is getting repoed.
Wow.
And so so now it's 11 p.m., and I would go home and rinse and repeat. Do it every day. And I did that for about 2.5 or 3 years, and grew Financial Peace to where we were teaching 300 people every night and twice on Saturday.
Wow. And
with an overhead projector, if you even know what that is. I mean, you can look it up. It's an antique thing. But it was very analog, the algorithm, there was no ability. We scaled it as far as we could scale it, and then we put it on VHS, and that was the breakthrough. I got my life back because I didn't have to teach every night. We started teaching at churches and other places. They take the VHS tape, and I could be everywhere, and I wasn't anywhere.
Yeah.
And that blew up, and I got back down to a 10-hour day from a 16-hour day.
Wow.
And but it was tough for a while. But my wife grew up on a farm, and she figured out hard work is what nothing happens without hard work. And it was not forever; it was for a period of time.
Sure.
That's not sustainable for 10 years.
Of course. That's
a workaholic if you're doing it for 10 years. It's an entrepreneur if you're doing it for 2 years.
Yeah. On that point now, as you start to generate income, how do you decide then? You're starting to make a little bit of money as an entrepreneur. How do you decide to take that money and put it back into the business versus pull that money out and buy a car, buy a home, buy a vacation, or buy a mutual fund?
Yeah. Well, we funded retirement as soon as we could, standard, pretty much like we teach. I pretty much ran that formula, just maxed out everything I could. And but the allocation, it was a month-to-month play because each month we've got this pile of profit.
Right.
One thing we learned to do early, because I got tired of living on the business on the wire, because if you take it all home, you got every month that business is on the wire.
Right.
So we started funding, taking a percentage of profits every month and dropping it into retained earnings, and have done that for now almost 30 years. And that keeps you funding retained earnings. So that helped with business. Then in addition to that, I need to buy a piece of equipment, or I need to spend some money on something inside the business, and I got to get Sharon a car because the old van we were driving looked like bad news. It was falling apart, and so I got so I got this choice. I can spend $10,000 here, $10,000 there, and really what we ended up figuring out was it's not it's just which is first. So I can do the $10,000 thing at the business, and I can get her a little $10,000 car to haul kids around in, and it might be 2 months one way or the other swing, but we're going to get both of them done next couple of months. So we just figured out mama's first and went and bought the van. And then we do the business. But we've always just dumped money back into the business all along. It's the best investment I've got.
Right.
I've got some great investments, but this one returns well.
Of course. But I think so, like, what you're saying is your business starts to make money, and as you start to stabilize yourself, now you say, I'm going to pay myself essentially a salary, a commission or a percentage based off of do you know what percentage that is, kind of roughly?
No, what we did finally after a while was we just put, I just took a straight salary.
So you take a salary.
In the early days, I just put, we were making enough money. I put it on $100,000 a year, and I was just taking $8,000 a month, $8,300 a month home, and put myself on payroll with everybody else. Just took the taxes out that way. I didn't screw with it. And but then in addition to that is what, if there was $200,000 laying there a year, then what's that other $100,000? Do we increase lifestyle at home, or do we invest back in the business? And the answer is some of both. And
so I think that question is interesting though, because when you're making, let's say $1 million, you make $1 million of profit versus $300 million, kind of like what you're doing now. Because I think, when you look at Instagram, the funny thing to me, as I was kind of understanding business for myself, was you see people talking about, I made $1 million. And they made $1 million, and they say, look at the cars. I got the Rolls Royce, I got the Lamborghini, and I'm flying in charter jets. Which means you're taking $1 million out of the business and you're spending all of it on yourself. But what you're saying is, no, you're taking a big or substantial chunk of that $1 million and you're putting it right back into the business. Or I'm investing it at home. I'm not, once I went broke, I'm never again going to consume everything I make. That's just childish. And so if I was that guy. I had a Jaguar. I was the guy that wanted, like you talked about your watch. I had the watch. I had all that crap. But the beauty of going broke is you lose the need to impress anybody. I just really don't. I drive a pickup truck, a really nice one, but I drive it because I like it. It's not because somebody else cares. Rednecks like my pickup, but other than that, it's not impressive. It's not. But I'm not driving the truck for what somebody thinks. I'm driving it because I wanted it. And you can afford it now, right? Yeah, and it's a matter of
I've got more cars than just that, but I'm not motivated by that. It's just, you won't see me splashing stuff on Instagram because it's not a good motivation. It's, there's a shallowness to just collecting things.
Oh, yeah.
A spiritual, emotional, psychological shallowness to that. There's nothing wrong with things. But it's stuff. Get you some nice stuff. I got some nice stuff, okay? Yeah. But if you're collecting it to show it off to other people, that's fairly childish, really.
If you enjoyed this clip and you want to watch the entire conversation, all you got to do is click that button right over there. And for those of you who want to stay up to date on the top finance and business news, you can join Market Briefs, my free financial newsletter, by clicking that button below. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.